Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Force of Will 101 Deck Tech series. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about my Little Red, the True Fairy Tale, Crimson Girl in the Sky Oz list that I have named Follow the Yellow Brick Road. This deck has seen a lot of changes over the weeks since I first played it on Lackey CCG. There's a video on our channel that you can see with that one. But as of right now, this deck is running three colors: red, white, and green. So fire, light, and wind, with wind being the primary, obviously, with Crimson Girl in the Sky. So let's talk about Crimson Girl real quick. Her activate, she has two options to J-activate. You can pay 0 if you've played a Refarth Castle in Heaven on the same turn, or you can play 2 wind and 1 colorless. So even if you have to pay the 2 wind, 1 color, it's not too bad. Let's flip her over real quick. To her J-Ruler side, she has 800 attack, 1000 defense, Little Red, the True Fairy Tale. She is a Fairy Tale / Ancient. She has 3 continuous effects. Her first one says she can't be targeted by fire or darkness spells or card abilities. So pretty good at taking down cards like Thunder or Duels of Truth, things like that. Pretty solid. Second ability says if a spell or ability would increase the attack or defense, of Resonators you control, it would increase double that much. Pretty solid, as you'll see with the cards that I'm going to talk about. And then on the opposite end of that, if a spell or ability would decrease the attack or defense of Resonators you control, it decreases 0 instead. So really solid card, really fun to make decks with, but she fits really well with the Oz. And I know it's a little dark in that corner, guys. Sorry about that, but I wanted to use as much natural lighting as possible today. So to start things off, we're going to talk about the stones. Being a wind, fire, light deck, we do have 4 of the Gusting Skies, the wind, light dual stone. We have 4 of the Blasting Waves, the Wind Fire Dual Stone, and then we have 2 True Magic Stones. We have Feethsing and we have Almerius Levitating. So both of these stones are really good in their own way. Feethsing gives something untargetable by spells, not abilities. That's important to remember, but it can hit. Feethsing's ability can target J-Rulers, so you get the bonus of that while losing the whole immune to abilities text. Almerius, while not the greatest card to hit on turn 1, does have the ability to give something flying by tapping it and paying 1 light. So it really has a lot of OTK potential just to get there once you have a really pumped up dude. Both are really good in this deck. I haven't had too many problems with Almerius on turn 1 because usually I'll have like a Tinkerbell or something in my hand anyways. So what else? Alright, let's move on to the spells list. This deck runs quite a few spells. We'll start off with the kind of like the staple spells. 4 Thunder. Okay, so we have 4 Thunder. We're running red in this deck, so we might as well have those Thunders main board. Most of the Thunder is just the splash, or excuse me, most of the red in this deck is just a splash for cards like Thunder. We don't actually run any Fire Resonators, but Thunder is a great card to have in your arsenal. Then we have 3 of the Xeex, the Ancient Magic. This card gets significantly better when you have Little Red as your ruler. Xeex has 4 different abilities. I'm not going to go through all 4 because most of you have already heard of the abilities, but when you have Little Red, you can use all 4 instead of 1. So normally a really good card. Crimson Girl / Little Red makes it an amazing card. We have 3 Oz's Magic. Oz's Magic costs 1, puts an achievement counter on up to 2 target Resonators, and if you control Oz the Great Wizard, you draw a card. Oz the Great Wizard Resonator can search for Oz's Magic and play it for free. So this card is just really, really good. It's good you know, it's good if you just play it from your hand. It's really good if you search for it with odds. So I would recommend throwing these back in a mulligan if you do draw them. Then we go on to field editions. We have 2 of the Realm of Evolution, 2 of the Refarth Castle in Heaven, and 2 of Realm of Pure Spirits. Now let's talk about this for a second. Realm of Evolution and Refarth both buff your guys. Realm of Evolution buffs Fairy Tales, and Refarth buffs everything. Now, before the rule change, where with the field editions, I would only run 2 of each of these, which you're seeing right now. The rule change, which allows you to have multiple copies of the same field, might change that for me, especially with Refarth, because Refarth's banish ability allows you to give something plus 400 until end of turn. That can be really insane when you consider the doubling effect of Little Red the True Fairy Tale. So having 2 of these on the field and banishing both of them to be able to give one of your Resonators plus 1600, yeah, it just can get super nutty super quick. Realm of Evolution also can be banished to and that one lets you search for a Fairy Tale. So solid array of field editions. This one kind of just goes again, like, it's kind of like Dracula hate and other, you know, hard removal hate. And then lastly, in the spells category, we have 2 of the Silver Stake. Now, Silver Stake's a really interesting card because it does give plus 400 and immunity to vampires, but it also has this bottom ability that says pay 1, return this card to its owner's hand. Now that can be really useful with the Heartless Tin Man. The Heartless Tin Man gets an achievement counter every time an addition, whether it's an addition Resonator or an addition field, whenever one of those is put into play on your side of the field. So you equip Heartless Tin Man with Silver Stake, he gets a counter. So it goes to 1. Then you pay 1 to bring Silver Stake back. That counter doesn't go anywhere, it stays there. Pay 1 to play it again, goes into 2. Yeah, you know, so forth, until you can really just make it out of control. And with the doubling ability, this is a plus 800 for 1 mana. Pretty good. So we have the 2 Silver Stakes. Thought about running more. I still might. This deck, obviously, as you can tell, is in flux a lot for me. I'm changing it a lot, and I would encourage you to do the same. Please don't just run an exact list. If you decided to run this Oz deck, make it your own a little bit. Let me know what the changes are. I'd be really interested to see what you did and how successful it was for you. You can always contact us on Facebook or at ggforceofwill@gmail.com. Anyways, after that shameless plug, let's talk about the Resonators. We have 4 of the Brainless Scarecrow. I'm going to talk about all of the achievement counter cards at once. 4 of the Heartless Tin Man, which is the kind of like the heart and soul of this deck, no pun intended. And then 3 Cowardly Lion. I did have to cut 1 to get some other stuff in here that I wanted to. I think that's okay to cut 1 of these because this is probably the worst one in my opinion. You do have to get battle damage to go through to your opponent's face for it to actually get an achievement counter. The Scarecrow is good because it automatically gets a counter when it gets put into the field, as long as you have one of these other 2 ones out. So it's, I mean, unless you're desperate, you're always going to start this one with an achievement counter. And the Tin Man is just super good. So that is the achievement counter lineup. 11 cards total. Out of a 40 card deck means you should probably start with what you need almost every game. To Glinda, the fairy. Just a solid card that gives something unblockable, which is even better than flying. And it has a lot of OTK potential with the added benefit of being able to cancel a normal spell in the right conditions. 3 of the Oz the Great Wizard. Talked about this briefly when I was talking about Oz the Magic. 600 solid body for a 3-drop, maybe a little below, but it allows you to search your deck for a spell that costs exactly 1, and if it's Oz's Magic, you can play it for free. It's really good, and if you know for some reason you don't need to search for Oz's magic, you can still go find a Thunder or a sideboarded Dual Truth, things like that. So Oz, Great Wizard, really good. And then for Tinkerbell, the Spirit. Tinkerbell is just really solid in these Crimson Girl decks because Tinkerbell does get plus 200 for every fairy tale on the board. But with Little Red flipped, she gets plus 400 for every fairy tale on the board. So, I mean, I've had games where, with all the other field buffs and things like that, I've had a 4,000 Tinkerbell. And that's because this deck kind of just floods the board with all its little dudes, and then uses one of them to swing through for game. So Tinkerbell is super good, especially because all of the achievement counter resonators are fairy tales. And then finally, to really hate on the hard removal, is Aesop the Prince's Tutor, 2 of. Aesop makes it so that all your fairy tales can't be targeted by spells or abilities. And, you know, usually that's pretty good, but your opponent can just Thunder Aesop and get on with hating on your fairy tales. But with the addition of, if I can find it here, with the addition of Realm of Pure Spirits, that makes it much, much harder for them to get at your stuff. Realm of Pure Spirits makes everything that's recovered untargetable, and so you just never ever swing with Aesop. You just leave him like that, and this prevents Aesop from being targeted, and Aesop prevents all your fairy tales from being targeted, so double coverage, and it's super annoying, super annoying to play against. So that's a great thing to have in the deck. So that is the main deck. Pretty straightforward, pretty consistent draw-wise. As this is a counter-based deck, it's not... You're going to have some wacky games. It's not going to be the same every single time you play it. You're going to have some different strategies based on what counters you can get on your dudes. But let's just talk about a couple sideboard options real quick. This is not my set sideboard, disclaimer alert. We're just going to talk about some options you could throw in. So I've seen some people run Law of Silence just to, you know, be able to have that extra turn. Also so that your opponent can't respond. You can play it on your turn, and your opponent can't respond to anything that you do. Pretty solid. Additional Silver Stakes are pretty decent in the sideboard. And one additional Realm of Pure Spirits. Dream of Juliet in the sideboard is really good. Probably a 2 or 3 of in the sideboard. Maybe like an Emperor's New Clothes, just for that edition, the Resonator edition hate. If you're playing like against like a 3 Musketeers or something. Rapid Decay to out aggro other aggro decks. Xeex, the 4th one, I definitely would like in my sideboard. Another Aesop when you feel like you're really under pressure from hard removal. Duel of Truth for when you're facing down some big guys, like some Mephistopheles or something like that. You can pump up one of your guys pretty easily and just take it out. Take the 500 damage from Mephistopheles, but anyways, I mean, it's still pretty good. You can also take out a J-Ruler fairly easily, because most of the time your achievement counter cards or Tinkerbell will be much stronger than your opponent's J-Ruler. And anything else I'm missing here? No, it looks like most of the sideboard options I would consider for this deck. Obviously there's infinitely more based on your local meta. I would not recommend ever straight copying a sideboard from any video you see online, just because your meta is going to be different than the meta that whoever created the video is, and myself included. So this has been a quick profile of my Yellow Brick Road Oz deck. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you have deck ideas that you would like to see on one of mine and Matt's live shows, please send us an email at ggforceofwill@gmail.com. And if you have not joined us on the Facebook page for the United States, please go find us. It is Force of Will TCG US on Facebook. As always, thanks so much for watching. We always appreciate your comments, your likes, and your subscriptions. We try to respond to as many comments as we can, as quickly as we can. So, this has been another episode of Force of Will 101 Deck Tech Series. My name is Chris, and I will see you on the next one.